recording first.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that introduction. So my name is Christopher Walker. I've been a teacher at my school here in International House Voronezh for, gosh, 12 or 13 years now. So I've been there for a long time. This is my daughter, Matilda. She's one of two daughters that I have. Matilda, how old are you?
5.
5. And when's your birthday? Is it on Wednesday?
In 3 days.
In 3 days. She'll be 6 in 3 days. I don't teach very many students of Matilda's age, but occasionally I have to step in when cover is required at the school. So if a teacher is absent, when we were doing face-to-face lessons, certainly. Sometimes I teach the first year of primary school. But I have to confess that even after so many years of being a teacher, I'm still not very good at teaching young learners. I don't think that I can claim any confidence in my own abilities. I've done everything that I can to improve my skills. One of the things that I did in recent years was the IH certificate in teaching young learners and teens, or the IH cult, as it's familiarly known. If anyone's ever considered doing that course, it really is one of the best ways that you can improve or upscale your skills in teaching young learners. And I think that because it's such a dynamic area, it's one where you really want to be continuously trying to get better at what you do. One of the other things that I've done a lot of is peer observations. Whenever I have the possibility to do that, either face-to-face, like in the classroom, sitting to the side somewhere, or online watching people's videos, I'm always very eager to take those sort of opportunities. And watching kindergarten teachers and first-year primary educators in the school system that we've got over here in Bielsko has really been enlightening. Gave me a lot of food for thought. For example, I remember seeing what I thought was a pretty effective lesson section where the teacher was role-playing a kind of pizza creation thing with the students. And the students would sit in a line leading up to the teacher. They'd already gone over the flashcards and they'd repeated and drilled all the vocabulary. And then each in turn would go and they followed a set dialogue with the teacher saying, "What would you like?" And then they say, "I'd like a pizza, please." So it was a chunk of language. And then, "What would you like on your pizza?" "I'd like," and then they chose from the flashcards. So each waited in turn, and it was all repetition, repetition, repetition. It really gave me food for thought. The other thing that I've been doing a lot of, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, is reflecting on practice. A lot of my lessons with young learners feel like I'm just trying to keep my head above water. I feel like I don't have the energy to really make a success of these lessons. But when there are successes, I like to think about why. What was it that worked so well? And what can I do next time to make it even better? So these sort of things are really the 3 threads that have played into today's session, where I'm going to be talking about the idea not of repetition in language production, but rather rehearsal. So Matilda likes asking me the same question. My daughter Susie does this all the time as well. And you kept saying, "What's your best color?" Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But what should we say? Can you tell everybody?
Favorite.
That's right. You should say, "What's your favorite color?"
Mm-hmm.
So Matilda likes asking these sort of questions. She likes asking me about my best country, my best city, all of these things. And every time we would practice saying favorite with this little bit of correction. And I wondered if maybe there would be a way to really kind of get it stuck in her head so that she'd know that we say favorite rather than best. And so I started thinking, well, what could I do to really personalize a lesson so it doesn't feel like a lesson? And I came up with the idea of taking advantage of one of Matilda's biggest hobbies, which is using a camera. You like that, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
But what do you like most? Do you like taking photos or do you like making films?
Making films.
You do, don't you? Matilda likes making films. Ever since she inherited one of my old cameras, she's been going around the apartment and outside when we go out for a walk, basically recording everything that she sees. It's my job then to edit things in order and put it all together. So we end up with some pretty long YouTube videos. So I thought I could take that interest of hers and use it as a way of getting her to practice saying favorite rather than best. So one day when we got home from preschool or whatever it was we were doing, was it preschool or we'd just been for a walk? For a walk, yeah. We got home, it was just me and Matilda in the apartment, it's nice and quiet. We had a bit of time to wait for my wife and Susie to get home. So we thought, why don't we make a video? So we did, didn't we? Mm-hmm. But we didn't just go straight into making the video to show Matilda's favourites. Instead, what did we do first? Mm-hmm. Did we practice?
Yes.
And why did we practice?
Because so that on the video I was in front.
That's right. So on the video you weren't wrong. Now, when you were practicing before we made the video, did you sometimes make mistakes?
Yes.
Yeah. And was it okay?
Yes.
It was, wasn't it? So when we practiced and you made mistakes, what did we do?
Make it again.
That's right, yeah. So it wasn't just a repetition. We weren't just drilling the structures. We were practicing them in a kind of safe way. We called it rehearsal because that's really what it is. I explained what the word means and how it came about. But the idea was really to provide a kind of safe environment for mistakes to be made before the kind of presentation production sort of task, which would be the video itself. So we practiced each part. We would rehearse each little section of dialogue until Matilda was confident that she could get it right, and I was confident that she would be happy doing it. She wouldn't be focused exactly on the words, but rather on what she was trying to produce. And then we would start recording. And I'm going to share with you very quickly a little bit of the video that we produced. So this is Matilda teaching us all about saying something about her favorite things. So there she is. You can probably recognize the backdrop. It's right behind us.
Hello, I am Matilda Walker. I am going to teach you about my favorite things. This is my favorite bag. To this bag, I can put lots of things. Close it.
Okay, so I don't want to show you the whole 4-minute video, but I will put the link in the chat now so that if anybody is interested in watching the whole thing, you'll be able to do that. I've shared the video quite widely, and it's interesting not only just to watch the video and to see how Matilda is, I'll come to that in a moment, but also to see the reactions of other people to the video. I used this video as a template for a lesson I did with my own young learners who were about 7, 8, and 9 years old. We did an online lesson, so it was very easy for me to share the video with them through the share screen on Zoom. And they then produced something similar, though not in the same format, and I'll come to that very shortly. The other thing that was interesting as a follow-up to this was that I shared the video with some of my teacher friends, including a woman who lives and teaches in Italy, and she actually put together a whole lesson plan she could use based on this video. Am I boring you? So she could use the whole template with her own students along with different target language. But watching the video, it's very interesting to see where Matilda's making short pauses because she's conscious of the sort of language that she should be using. She knows that she has to say, for example, I'm going to. A lot of the time she made the mistake of saying I going to. And we worked on that in the rehearsals. The rehearsal, again, to underline this, was supposed to be a very stress-free or at least low-stress part of the practice, but with this idea of producing something. So, don't worry, we're going to show them your thing in a minute, darling. And what I'd like now is to come back to this idea of repetition, because this was what I saw when I was observing the young learner teacher with kindergarten students. I want to think what the difference is between repetition and rehearsal. And to do this, rather than use the chat, I'd like to use Padlet with you. Hopefully you've all used Padlet before, but we're going to go to this link just here. So if you look in the chat, there's now a link to the Padlet. And I'm going to share the screen with the Padlet so that we can see the messages as they come up. Don't be shy. Any ideas that you've got, please share them with us. So here we are with the Padlet. So rehearsal versus repetition. At the bottom of the screen, you can see a little pink plus, a little circle there. So just click and we're going to have, what should we say, one similarity. Let's see, write something. Let's see, one similarity, repetition and rehearsal both involve a focus on form. There we go. Nina has added something, although it just says Nina. Nice start though. So can you think then, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, think of any of the other similarities and differences that you can consider. Maybe to make it a bit easier for you so we're not doubling up on the screen, I'm going to stop share just for a moment and I'm going to watch the screen myself. Like I say, don't be shy if you've got any ideas. Do you think of any of the differences and similarities between rehearsal and repetition? Why are they two different things? Oh, wonderful. We've got some things coming up. Look, people. Oh, drilling. That's a good idea. Yeah. So drilling, I should think, is a similarity. They both enhance our memory. Absolutely. Got some ideas coming through. Are you tired? No. Is it hard work doing a conference talk? No? It is interesting though, isn't it? Rehearsal sounds more artistic rather than learning. Yes, I want to see how that idea develops because I think that's quite key actually. And that makes it more do you think they're going to say authentic or more interesting? Very good. Yes, I'm going to give a little heart to that one. So I think that's a really good point that somebody has raised here, that rehearsal is a more artistic sort of thing. And if you've got any children in your classes who engage in extracurricular activities, we have, like in Poland, we have the so-called Dom Kultury, which is the house of culture, and they do all sorts of theatrical events and dance competitions. And of course, they all come with rehearsal. They don't come with drilling. They don't come with repetition. They come with rehearsal, where you practice before a performance. And I think this idea that some children will be aware of this from the real world means that they will apply their kind of mental schema to the experience of rehearsal. And that will mean that they have a greater engagement with it. Instead of just thinking, oh, I have to repeat because the teacher says repeat, repeat, repeat. No, I'm actually practicing ready for a production. And that way, you can get a more authentic response for the students. And I think that's very key. Okay, well, I'll come back to the Padlet later. If you want to keep adding your ideas, that would be fantastic. In the meantime, I'll just summarize a couple of the other ideas that I had about the differences. And I think one of the key differences is that repetition establishes a language pattern, which is great, and it establishes confidence in using particular elements within language, but it doesn't really build to much itself, whereas rehearsal builds to performance. You practice because you will soon perform. And once your young learners have done this a couple of times, when they start getting into this idea that first we rehearse and then we produce, they will start to get into it a lot more. Now let's turn to Matilda, because she had a great idea and she's made something here that she's going to show us and tell us about that you can use in the classroom. Because one of the first things I'm sure a lot of you thought about was, but Chris, I can't just take a camera into my classroom and record my students. What about privacy? What about what the parents would think? You don't go around taking pictures of making videos of students in the classroom willy-nilly. Well, Matilda, can you show everybody what you've made just there? There we go. Can you see what that is? I'm going to bring it closer. So it's got her name at the front. It's Matty. Now this is
a telephone cat.
It's a cat telephone, isn't it? Yes. Now, can you show what's on the back? So what's this part, Matty?
For the photos, and this part for the filming.
For the videos, yeah?
And with the videos, I done it that here is this, and then I just done with this hole, and then here is black, so here too is black.
Very good. And what's inside? Because it looks more like a book than a phone, but it's not a book, is it? So what can you see on the inside? Can you show everybody?
On the inside. First, this, where I can buy food, and I buy this food what is up, and I buy this. Next, here are games, and here are something what I just
something that you have to draw, is it?
No.
No? Oh, is this for chat?
Yes.
So she's got a kind of WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger sort of chatting thing just here as well. Yeah, chat box. Thank you, Anastasia. Yeah. So this became a bigger project for her, an arts and crafts project, so that she would have a whole smartphone. And it's like you can flick between the screens on the smartphone, and each different part of it has its own idea embedded in it.
Here we can buy animals.
So it's got like an online pet shop.
Here we can watch. Here we can buy houses.
Oh, there's even a keyboard on this bit, isn't there? Can I show you?
No, this isn't a keyboard.
No, but it looks like you can write things just there. What is it?
Here we need to write, and here is something what here is like this, a filming.
A video.
A video here like this. Like this.
Fantastic.
And here is inside of the game. Okay.
And that's the last bit, isn't it?
And that's the last bit what I showed.
Yes.
And here we can buy something on the neck.
Yes, like a necklace. Or a bracelet. So I've done this with my young learners as well, because obviously we've now actually come back to face-to-face teaching for years 1 to 3 in the primary school. And I wanted to repeat the same kind of experiences where the students would rehearse and then produce or present. But I couldn't take my own camera in because that would just be wrong, I suppose. So instead, the students first worked on a little project where they made their own kind of model smartphone. The smartphone would then have a camera unit so that the students could kind of role play being the director, being the video producer. It gave them a little bit more reason to engage in the role play that we were doing. So they were more keen to rehearse, and they were very much more keen to produce. So with the young learners in the classroom especially, having this sort of thing gives them a lot more autonomy. It gets them to express their creativity a bit more, and it gets them more into the idea of there being first a rehearsal and then a production. I would like to talk a little bit though, before I finish, I still have a few minutes left, I'd like to talk a little bit more about how you can integrate this idea of rehearsal and presentation production with slightly older students and in the online setting, because of course we're going to be living with online teaching for quite a while yet. And I want to tell you a little bit about a pronunciation practice task that I set some of my 12 and 13-year-old students that I think is relevant to the present discussion. I wanted to get them to improve their pronunciation through reading aloud. This is a topic that has come up a few times in today's sessions. But I noticed that some of my students were not reading, or at least they weren't producing language that was very close to standardized English. It was very heavily Polish influenced. And I wanted the students to get a bit of practice in speaking more clearly and concentrating on their production of different phonemes in English. So what I did was I would provide a short model by reading and recording myself with a short text from the book. I then put the students into small groups in breakout rooms for rehearsal. They would take it in turns to read a little bit and give feedback to each other. And because I wasn't always there in the breakout room with them, I was moving from room to room, it removed a lot of the stress of performance. And again, this is one of the key differences between repetition and rehearsal. If you take yourself out of rehearsal, it can still happen. But if you take yourself out of repetition as the teacher, you wonder if it's going to happen. There's got to be more focus on form, I suppose, on repetition, and there's a little bit more freedom with rehearsal. So I sent the students out to their breakout rooms. They practiced together and gave feedback to each other. When they were ready, I asked them to use Vocaroo. And if you haven't seen Vocaroo before, this is Vocaroo, vocaroo.com. It's a free service, and the reason I like it is because it is so minimal. There is a very, very limited interface. If you've used Vocaroo, please tell me in the chat if you've seen it, if you're familiar with it, but it could not be simpler. So after they had done their rehearsal and it became time to record themselves, now these were older students, they did not want to turn on their cameras for one thing, so recording video was completely out. They were happy, however, to use Vocaroo. They just have to click the microphone, and we'll do it now. We're going to say something. Can you say something, Matty? Say hello, everybody.
Hello.
Very good. So we can stop. We can play it again if we want to. We'll do it now. We're going to say something. Can you say something, Matty? Say hello, everybody.
Hello.
There we go. Very good. So we were able to check what was that, and then you click save and share. And I think it saves onto the Vocaroo service for about 90 days. You can copy the link like this, and then I would ask the students when they return to the main room to share the link with me to their recording in the chat. And that way I was then able to go through all of their recordings after the lesson. So that was their production after rehearsal. I also, as part of this, I made it into more of a kind of a study. And what I found was that, generally speaking, by counting the number of mistakes that the students were making with their pronunciation in each subsequent session, I saw that for some of the students, progress was being made, even without my intervention. They had a model, they rehearsed together, they gave feedback to each other, something that young learners are not so good at doing, but when you get to like 12 or 13 and upwards, that's a possibility. Then when they recorded, they were doing a much better job than they were at the start. And some of the students were able to halve the number of mistakes they were making, and others were able to begin to concentrate more on intonation and stress rather than just phonemic reproduction. So I was really pleased with the outcome there, and I think it's well worth a chance giving it a go. So the rehearsal stage, following a model, feedback from the other students, which is not so possible with younger learners, and then the production. In Matilda's case, that was the video. With my younger learners, that was with a project that involved making a smartphone and recording the video in their imaginations. And with my slightly older students who were a bit more camera shy and a little less likely to use arts and crafts elements in the lessons, we went with Vocaroo to record just the audio. And that brings me pretty much to the end of what I wanted to cover in today's session. I think, Matilda, you've done very well. You've stayed with us the whole time. You didn't get scared, did you? Yeah. And that, I think, gives us a couple of minutes for questions. I'd love to hear your questions. I invite you to turn on your cameras or your microphone at least, if you'd like to ask me or the special guest, Matilda, any questions, please do.
Please, everyone, that's time to speak.
You want to make more videos, don't you, darling? Yeah. What sort of video would you like to make next?
With the elephants.
Ah, so how to draw elephants?
Not to draw, just make.
Oh, it's like an origami elephant.
Yes, and Teddy.
Very good. So Matilda's got lots of ideas for the next video she wants to make. Oh, Anastasia's got her camera on.
Hey,
Hello.
Betty. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Are you tired? Yes.
Are you a bit tired?
No.
No?
Oh, okay. Okay, that's perfect. And I'm very much interested if you're going to make the same smartphone as for the cats, the same for the elephants. Are you going to?
You're going to do an elephant smartphone?
I think so.
Okay. They might be messaging to each other, writing and phoning, the cats to the elephants to the cats, right? Okay. Thanks.
Thank you for the question. I like the idea actually of different animals. It's another way of reciting animal vocabulary. Plus, with the younger learners, having to make something that involves at least a little bit of cutting out works on their fine motor skills, and that's something that's very important. Even if you're teaching online, you can still get them to do this sort of thing at home. And I think one of the worries that a lot of parents have is that when students have missed this much schooling, they've missed out on all those opportunities to develop their fine motor skills. This would be a lovely way of getting that back. And Matilda's made a whole number of things like this, haven't you? Is this one yours, the kitty one? Oh, that's Susie's, is it? My other daughter, Susie, made one with a picture on the front. It just says kitty, and then the little picture of the camera unit on the back. This one you can actually open, can't you? Because it's got a little, I don't know if you can see just there. She's kind of added a little lock mechanism. There's a little bit, I don't want to break it. There we go. And then you can open it, and that's a proper smartphone interface, isn't it? I think that's Android 11 probably. There we go. Okay.
Someone wants to talk?
Yeah, good question. Does anyone else want to talk? Thank you, Anastasia, for your question. Here's your chance. Anybody else to say something to Matilda? She's very happy to answer any questions you might have.
So people got used to muting their microphones and just writing something.
That's right.
And
I'm sorry, can I subscribe?
Oh, please do, yes.
All right, so I will.
Wonderful,
thank you, Matilda, for your beautiful videos, and you, Chris, for your wonderful ideas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming today. This has been a big moment for Matilda. Ever since we were invited to this conference, Matilda's been thinking what we're going to talk about, and she's been preparing. In other words, she's been rehearsing. We rehearsed for this. So I made my notes in a little notebook, and we sat down together twice earlier today to go over what was going to happen and to talk about expectations. And I suppose this is another aspect of rehearsals that might come up on the Padlet later, and that's the elimination of as much stress as possible. The more you rehearse something, the less stressful the final production is going to be. And I think she's done very well. I'm sure everyone will agree.
Someone else wants to talk with someone?
yeah, we just want to say thank you to you, Matilda, especially. And a lot of people wrote something like, you're adorable. Yeah. It's incredible how you do those creative things, and thanks to your father who agreed to be the presenter at our conference. Will you join us again, Matilda?
I'd like to do another conference.
Mhm.
Yeah. After all, what is a
Okay.
young learners conference without at least one young learner?
Yeah, exactly. So thank you very much for your presentation and for stepping in, agreeing to be our speaker. So hope to see you again soon, maybe even live.
Hmm?
So, you know, Glenn is planning to come back to Voronezh, so maybe you'll join him.
Love to.
Why
Love
not?
to be back. I've never been to Russia,
Yeah.
actually. I'd love to come and see. I was looking at Voronezh on Google, Google Maps, Google Images. It really looks like a wonderful place, definitely worth a visit. I want this one to
Yeah.
start seeing more of the world, and Susie as well soon. So yeah, looking forward to an invitation.
Why not? Yeah, it's not that
It's
far
not,
from
no, you can
Poland.
just, you know, I looked at it, it's 2 hours time difference, but it only probably takes an hour and a half to get from one side to the other, doesn't it? It's incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
Matthew, would you like to say goodbye to everybody? Say bye-bye nicely.
Yeah.
Say
In a
bye-bye.
minute.
In a minute. Oh, you're too busy doing this, are you?
Okay. So goodbye, Matilda. Goodbye.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you all so much.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Goodbye, Christopher. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.